Okay, so Eric, go ahead.
Um, and this actually kind of came to me during the meditation, and I think it revolves around being dissatisfied with the way I respond when people who are close to me are feeling anxious or angry or sad, and not sometimes responding with being angry at them for feeling that way or being flip or dismissive of their feelings, and I can see that these are ways of sort of protecting myself,
Yes.
their feelings. So I'm I'm happy that I can see it, but in the moment that doesn't always help with my habitual response. So I
Hmm.
guess that's kind of that whole little system is what I'm undergoing.
So by doesn't help, are you saying that you don't see it in time? Or what is it when you say it doesn't help?
Oh, that being angry or dismissive isn't helpful.
Oh no, yeah, okay. It isn't helpful to the situation.
Yeah.
Does your noticing it help?
Yes.
Okay.
Happy about that. I'm
Yeah.
happy about that. And it gives me some hope that at some point that I'll at least be able to just say, okay, I hear you. And if it doesn't go any further than that, even that would be an improvement. And sometimes I get it. Sometimes it's okay.
Yeah.
It's often more difficult to achieve, say, while one is driving a car and these things are happening at the same time. So you're driving a car and having to respond and or not
Right.
respond. And yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it may be, I mean, this is just something if you want to take it on. That moment when your own irritation comes up, be present with that. And there's something there to understand in your own response. There's something you're experiencing that I suspect is not you're not fully aware of. So that's the challenge, because you're aware of the response and you're aware that it's not appropriate. It doesn't make the situation better. You're aware that you wish that it didn't happen, you know, and you're aware that you can, in some way, if you can notice it fast enough, it cannot come out, right? So there's all that kind of thing there. But it's sort of like, what is it? What is it that needs to be seen and met in you in that moment? How are you affected by someone else's anxiety or whatever? What is actually happening here that you feel like you need to do this? Um, Beautiful.
Thanks.
And that's where you're undergoing something. Yeah, that's
In
where.
the meanwhile,
Meanwhile, yes. All right, thank you. Yes, Susan.
Yes, I just have a little question. Can you explain what you mean when you talk about agency? I'm not
Agency,
quite sure I understand what
the
you're getting
ability
at
to
there.
do something in a situation is agency. Maybe that's a little too professional jargon.
No, it's okay.
But
Now I
the
get it.
ability to do something in a situation, So, like in the drugstore, I could go somewhere else if I wanted to just buy one battery. So there's agency there. I could do something. Um, but there's also the possibility of surrender, which is to just let's just go with what's here. So both are possible. And so it goes everywhere from the micro to the macro on that. There may be things that are happening in the world that seem so huge and we're so small, but nonetheless, we may have agency. There may be things that we could be doing that would be meaningful, that would address something that in certain ways seems completely beyond us. That's the doing part of life. But along with that, there's a great deal of surrender to the way things are, of what we don't have power over. So it's a place of kind of finding what is power, what you have power and what you don't have power around.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah, Lisa.
Yeah. So,
Sorry, Lisa, I muted you by mistake. I thought I was muting Susan. So you'll have to come back on. Okay, thanks.
okay. So it's very interesting, the concept of agency around surrender to me, in that they don't seem to exist together. It's agency, agency, and then there's a point where, okay, there's no more agency here. I surrender.
Yeah, it can work that way. Yes,
So I think it's hard to know when do you do that? Because
absolutely.
what if we
Hard to
just do
know.
that at the get-go? Forget it. You know, I'm not even gonna go to the
Right. But
to
that
the
can be a kind of,
drugstore as an example. Or how far do you
yeah,
take it? Because then you say, okay, if I give this one more moment, one more try,
yeah.
then it'll work.
So that's kind of the depressed stance of why even try, right?
Yeah.
Why even go to the drugstore? Uh, so if they had been completely sold out, I probably would have gone to another drugstore, you know? But you put your finger on something that's really difficult. Is sometimes it's hard to distinguish between something you can do something about and something that you can't do anything about. There are situations where that's very hard to discern. You know, in in Alcoholics Anonymous and in other sort of 12-step groups, they have the Serenity Prayer, right? Which asks basically for, the wisdom to know the difference between what I can do and what I can't do, what I can do something about and what I can't do something about. It's not always so easy.
Yeah.
I wish there were a simple formula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Thank you.
And sometimes you can even think of surrender or rest as a form of doing, in a situation. Like, like I was working on something recently and I just sort of realized, wow, I'm just not being very effective here. I think I should put it down. Come back later. My mind isn't very sharp.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a giving up. It can be a skillful way of doing.
If and it feels good.
And it feels good. Yeah.
And
It doesn't sound like a depressed stance.
no, well, the comment that you made, okay, I'm gonna spend a little more money here today than
Yeah.
I would have.
Yeah.
It just rang to me. Well, that can make so many situations easier if we're not holding so tightly
Right.
on, I work with insurance companies and there's no power there. I have to I bill them and there's no power there. It just, at some point, I just have to say, I'm doing my service and it will be what it will be.
Right. In some situations, you can see almost immediately that there's no power there. When I looked at
Doesn't feel just.
when I looked at the empty thing of batteries, it's like, there's no power there. And that is a huge thing for a human being, right? To suddenly feel like it's just the way it is. We want to have some power in a situation, right? There's this kind of natural thing. And so to actually just see, oh, this is the way it is, and to drop it, it's harder than it sounds. It's harder than it sounds.
Freeing.
Yeah.
I like it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, Elaine.
Yeah, I was thinking, sort of am seeing it as a corollary to what you and what Lisa was just saying, how hard it is. Sometimes there are situations where we do have agency, but it might be best not to use it, but to surrender to a particular circumstance. And that's very difficult sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get a lot of resistance to that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think Donna had her hand up. If you still have.
Well, yeah, I think I still have it in my mind. I was just thinking about what you and Lisa were talking about and how it's just harder, it's hard to do. And I was just thinking that um that you need to surrender sometimes on something like whatever you're undergoing many times over over a long, maybe over a lifetime, right? And that there are moments that I can be more skillful at surrendering, and then moments, it could be days later, weeks later, hours, minutes, whatever, where, then I'm still spinning in my head about something that I thought I surrendered on. So it's just an observation.
It's very helpful, though, I think, to mention it, that, there are these ongoing situations and relationships that we're in life that require surrender after surrender after surrender. And we are more capable of it sometimes than we are other times.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the other observation I was making when I was writing my list was that there are some areas where I'm undergoing something where I feel like I am a little more skillful more often, maybe never on, never all of the time. And then areas where it's harder and that sort of sense of why is that one so hard? Like I never thought of them compared to each other,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah. And that might be a fruitful question. Why is that one so hard? What is hard here? When you feel yourself kind of gripping something that you'll need to let go of, and it's hard to let go of it. Why is this so hard? What do I have to actually face here?
okay.
All right, thank you. So I think we're about at our time here for tonight. So, for the week, notice surrender. That's really, notice where you're undergoing things, and notice surrender as a possibility or as a difficulty, and see what you can learn about it. All right, and I'll talk with you next week.